What if I told you there's a continent where rivers disappear into deserts, where a lake turns animals to stone, where tribes knew about invisible stars centuries before telescopes could find them, and where the richest human being in all of history once lived? That place is Africa, and I promise you, what you're about to hear will completely change the way you see this extraordinary continent. Stay with me, because fact number 12 alone will blow your mind. Welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about the facts that schools don't always teach you. And today, we are diving deep into one of the most jaw-dropping places on this planet. We've got 30 incredible facts about Africa. Let's get into it. What if I told you that the United States, China, India, Europe, and Japan could all fit inside Africa at the same time? Africa covers approximately 30.3 million square kilometers, making it the second largest continent on Earth. Its true size is so distorted by most world maps that most people massively underestimate it. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Every single human being alive today, no matter where they're from, can trace their DNA back to one place. Africa is the birthplace of all modern humans. The oldest fossils of anatomically modern Homo sapiens have been found in eastern and southern Africa, some dating back over 300,000 years. We all started here. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Imagine living in a country where your neighbor speaks a completely different language, not a dialect, a whole different language. Africa is home to over 2,000 distinct languages, roughly 1/3 of all languages spoken on Earth. Nigeria alone has over 520 languages within its borders, making it one of the most linguistically diverse nations in the world. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. The world's largest hot desert was once so lush and green that hippos swam in its lakes. Yes, really. During a period known as the African Humid Period, roughly 10,000 to 5,000 years ago, the Sahara Desert was covered with grasslands, rivers, and lakes. Ancient cave paintings in the region show giraffes, crocodiles, and people swimming, proof of its green past. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. This mountain sits right on the equator where it's hot enough to cook, yet it has glaciers at the top. How is that even possible? Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania stands 19,341 feet tall, the highest freestanding mountain in the entire world. Its summit hosts ancient glaciers, though climate scientists note these ice fields have been steadily shrinking over recent decades. Wait, before we continue, what's coming next might be the most unbelievable thing you hear all video. Let's go. There is a lake in Africa so deadly that any animal that falls into it is basically mummified almost instantly. Lake Natron in Tanzania has a pH of around 10.5, almost as alkaline as ammonia. Its extreme chemistry calcifies the bodies of animals that die in its waters, preserving them in haunting stone-like poses. Yet flamingos love it. They nest there by the millions. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. While the world was still figuring out online banking, one African country was already banking from basic flip phones. Kenya launched M-Pesa in 2007, a revolutionary mobile money platform that let people send and receive money via simple text messages, no smartphone needed. By 2023, M-Pesa had over 51 million active users and was handling transactions worth more than $50 billion annually, nearly a quarter of Kenya's entire GDP. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. There is a place in Africa that looks more like the surface of another planet than anywhere on Earth. Ethiopia's Danakil Depression sits 410 feet below sea level and regularly reaches temperatures of 125 degrees Fahrenheit, making it one of the hottest and lowest places on Earth. Its surreal neon-colored hot springs, caused by mineral deposits and heat-loving bacteria, look like something from a science fiction movie. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Africa is building a living wall, 5,600 miles long, to stop a desert in its tracks. The Great Green Wall Initiative aims to restore 100 million hectares of degraded land by planting a massive belt of trees across the full width of the continent, from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east. At over 9,000 kilometers long, it is one of the most ambitious environmental projects in human history. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Your morning coffee has African roots, and the story of how it was discovered is absolutely wild. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. Legend says a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats became unusually energetic after eating berries from a particular tree, and that tree was Coffea arabica. The region of Kaffa in Ethiopia is where the word coffee itself is believed to originate. Wait, before we continue, what's coming next might be the most unbelievable thing you hear all video. Let's go. Hollywood? Bollywood? What about Nollywood, the film industry that outproduces them both? Nigeria's film industry, known as Nollywood, produces over 2,500 films per year, more than Hollywood and second only to India's Bollywood globally. It's one of Africa's largest employers and a multi-billion-dollar cultural powerhouse spreading African stories worldwide. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk? They are nowhere close to the wealthiest person who ever lived, and he was African. Mansa Musa, the 14th century ruler of the Mali Empire, is widely considered the richest person in all of recorded history. His wealth, in gold, salt, and land, is estimated to have been worth the equivalent of $400 billion in today's money. When he made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he gave away so much gold that he accidentally crashed the economies of the cities he visited. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. A supercar goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 3 seconds. So does a cheetah, with no engine. The cheetah, native to Africa, can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, reaching top speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. Its spine works like a giant spring during each stride, and its body has specialized adaptations for explosive oxygen intake. It is the fastest land animal on the planet. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. We always hear about the Amazon rainforest, but Earth has a second massive green lung that most people have never heard of. The Congo Basin is the world's second largest rainforest, covering over 3.3 million square kilometers across Central Africa. It plays a crucial role in regulating the global climate, absorbing vast amounts of CO2 and producing oxygen for the planet, earning it the nickname Earth's second lung. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. The locals don't call it Victoria Falls, they call it something far more powerful and far more accurate. The indigenous Tonga and Lozi people call Victoria Falls Mosi Oatunya, meaning the smoke that thunders. At over a mile wide and 354 feet tall, it is the largest single curtain of falling water on Earth, generating a mist cloud visible from 30 miles away. Wait, before we continue, what's coming next might be the most unbelievable thing you hear all video. Let's go. One African island separated from the mainland 160 million years ago, and the creatures that evolved there exist literally nowhere else on Earth. Madagascar broke away from mainland Africa about 160 million years ago, allowing its wildlife to evolve in total isolation. Today, over 90% of its plant and animal species, including all of its lemurs, over 300 species of frogs, and over 260 species of reptiles, are found absolutely nowhere else on the planet. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Right now, as you watch this video, Africa is slowly splitting in two. In about 50 million years, part of it will become a completely new continent. The East African Rift is an active geological fault system where the African tectonic plate is literally being pulled apart. Scientists predict that the Somali plate will eventually separate, creating a new ocean and a brand new landmass over tens of millions of years. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Everyone knows the Sahara, but Africa hides an even older desert that's been around since the age of the dinosaurs. The Namib Desert in southern Africa is believed to be the oldest desert on Earth, estimated to be between 55 and 80 million years old. This means it existed while dinosaurs were still roaming the planet. Its towering sand dunes, some over 1,000 feet tall, are among the largest in the world. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Scientists can trace the family tree of every person on Earth, and the oldest branch leads to one group of people in Africa. The San people of southern Africa have genetic markers identifying them as one of the oldest continuously existing populations of modern humans, with their distinct lineage dating back over 100,000 years. Their languages feature extraordinary clicking sounds, some of the most complex phonetics found in any language on Earth. Africa may be home to humanity's oldest history, but it also has the youngest population of any continent on Earth. The median age in Africa is just around 19 years old, making it the world's youngest continent by far. With over 60% of the population under 25, Africa has a rising generation that demographers predict will reshape the global economy, culture, and innovation landscape in the coming decades. Wait, before we continue, what's coming next might be the most unbelievable thing you hear all video. Let's go. One African tribe knew about a star invisible to the naked eye, centuries before telescopes powerful enough to see it were even invented. The Dogon people of Mali in West Africa possessed detailed knowledge of Sirius B, a white dwarf star that orbits Sirius A and is completely invisible without a powerful telescope. They described its orbit, its density, and a 50-year orbital cycle with remarkable accuracy, long before modern astronomy confirmed these details. You've heard the saying, "Elephants never forget," but the science behind it is even more remarkable than the phrase. African elephants can recognize the calls of up to 100 different individual elephants, can remember the location of watering holes visited decades ago, and have demonstrated the ability to mourn their dead, returning to the bones of deceased relatives and touching them gently with their trunks. Their social bonds and emotional intelligence are extraordinary. The largest gem-quality diamond ever found on Earth was discovered by accident, by a mine superintendent doing a routine check. The Cullinan diamond, unearthed in South Africa in 1905, weighed a staggering 3,106 carats in its raw form. It was eventually cut into several major stones, some of which now sit in the British Crown Jewels, including the Great Star of Africa and the Lesser Star of Africa. One small African nation quietly made history by becoming the first country in the world where women hold the majority of parliamentary seats. Rwanda's parliament has consistently held the world's highest percentage of female representation, with women occupying over 60% of seats in its lower house. This makes it the most gender-equal legislature on Earth, surpassing every country in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Most rivers flow into an ocean or a sea. One of Africa's greatest rivers does something completely different. It disappears into the desert. The Okavango River in Botswana flows inland and fans out into the Kalahari Desert, creating the Okavango Delta, the world's largest inland river delta. Rather than reaching the sea, it simply evaporates, leaving behind a paradise of lush wetlands that draws extraordinary wildlife in the middle of an arid landscape. Wait, before we continue, what's coming next might be the most unbelievable thing you hear all video. Let's go. Quick, how many countries does Africa have? If you guess 30 or 40, you're not even close. Africa is home to 54 internationally recognized countries, more than any other continent on Earth. Each has its own distinct history, official languages, cultural traditions, and identity. The continent is so vast and diverse that comparing one part to another is like comparing Norway to Egypt. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. One of nature's most beautiful birds chooses to nest in one of Africa's most deadly places, and it does this on purpose. Millions of lesser flamingos nest at Lake Natron in Tanzania, the same caustic, near-boiling alkaline lake that calcifies other animals. The flamingo's scaly legs and specialized bills allow them to thrive in this hostile environment, which also keeps predators away. It's nature's cleverest real estate choice. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Every year, over 1 million animals move in one of the largest natural spectacles ever witnessed on Earth, and you can set your watch by it. The Great Wildebeest Migration sees over 1.5 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, travel in a continuous circular loop between Tanzania's Serengeti and Kenya's Masai Mara. The journey of nearly 1,800 miles crosses crocodile-filled rivers and is considered the greatest wildlife show on Earth. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. Centuries before Oxford or Cambridge existed, one African city was already home to the greatest center of learning in the entire world. Timbuktu in Mali was a global center of scholarship and Islamic learning during the 14th to 16th centuries. At its height, the city's University of Sankore hosted over 25,000 students, and its libraries housed up to 700,000 ancient manuscripts on astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. And if you think that's amazing, wait until you hear the next one. By the year 2100, 1 in every 3 people on Earth will be African. Let that sink in. The United Nations projects that Africa's population will reach 4.2 billion by 2100, roughly 40% of the world's total population. With the world's youngest demographics, fastest-growing tech scenes, and richest natural and cultural reserves, Africa is not just the continent of the past, it is the continent of the future. And there you have it, 30 incredible facts about Africa that I hope changed the way you see this extraordinary continent. From a lake that turns animals to stone, to the richest man who ever lived, to a river that vanishes into the desert, to a population of young people poised to reshape the world. Africa isn't just a place, it's the place, the cradle of humanity, a laboratory of nature, a powerhouse of culture, and the continent with more future ahead of it than perhaps anywhere else on Earth. So, which fact absolutely floored you? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want more incredible facts from around the world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We drop new videos every week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.